Abba Yahuwah, we just thank you so much for today. We thank you that we can gather together, that we can worship you, that we can declare your truth, we can go deeper in your truth, we can come and reason together through scripture and just all have and pray even for renewed longing to want to know you more even today. And thank you, Yah, for giving me a song at 5:30 this evening. It's kind of funny because it's got to be him that did that. So it's from Psalm 29 in the Septuagint, which would be the one, it would be 30 in the regular Masoretic version. So again, I'm going to encourage you to read the whole psalm to get the context of everything, and I've just picked a few key verses to worship and declare.
Sing it when you know it.
audibly in your heart or whatever, just give thanks to Him for whatever's on your heart to give thanks. Give thanks. We thank you. We bless your holy name. We give thanks. Our heart is full of thanksgiving for your daily provision, for shelter, for clothing, for food, for fellowship. Elohim, the authority above all. And I have cried out this prayer for the last 2 weeks. And you broke me to the place that I have nothing. There's absolutely nothing in heaven and nothing on earth that I desire more than you. And so I want to encourage you
only difference between me leading worship is that I might be just a little step ahead of you. I encourage you to go deep right now and to cry out. What have I in heaven but you? What have I desired upon the earth beside you? My heart and my flesh have failed. Elohim is the strength of my heart. What have I in heaven but you? What have I desired upon the earth beside you? My heart and my flesh have failed. Yahweh is my portion forever. are the deep places of the earth. The heights of the hills are His, and the seas too. And His hand formed the dry land. Oh, come and let us worship. Oh, come and bow down. Oh, come and let us worship. Oh, come and bow This is the generation of those that seek Him, that seek the face of Yaakov. This is where we pause so loud. This is the generation of those that seek Him, that seek the face of Yaakov. This is where we pause. Who shall go up to the mountain of Yahweh and stand in His holy place? Stand in His holy place. Who shall go up to the mountain of Yahweh and stand in His holy place? Stand in His holy place. One more time. Who shall go up to the mountain of Yahweh and stand in His holy place? Stand in His holy place. He that is innocent in His hand and pure in His heart, and not lifted his soul to vanity, nor sworn to others deceitfully, he shall receive Yah's mercy and a blessing from Yah, our Savior. Our Savior. Yahusha said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Yah and understand His way. And understand His ways. Yeshua said, blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see Yah and understand His ways. And understand His ways. Lift up your gates, you princes. Be lifted up, you everlasting doors, and the King of glory shall come in. Lift up your gates, you princes.
Yahuwah. They have been found true. They are tested. They are faithful. They are righteous. We can stand on them. They are promises that have been fulfilled and that are yet to be fulfilled. We worship you. We bow down before you. Magnify your holy name. Thank you for ministering your peace to us. Thank you for ministering your shalom to our heart, to our mind. May we keep our eyes fixed on you. In the furnace of the on the days when you feel like you have two left hands on the keyboard. My heart is still to worship you, Abba Yah.
Thank you, Davene, for leading us in the session of praise. And we'd like to thank everyone for joining us here tonight, and those who are new here as well. So we are still in Genesis chapter 24, and on this Monday, 21st October, we are going to be getting into part 2 of the study. Yeah, so, A Wife for My Beloved Son, part 2. So we're going to get into our news item, and the headline is titled Unsanctioned Worship, because a lot of this study is going to be getting into what worship truly is, versus what praise is, versus what blessing is.
Another reset.
Yeah. So more the norm than the exception are stories that come to light about people getting entangled in situations that have become unpleasant. This unpleasant situation has to do with organizations that tend to do things outside what is considered the norm. This story is straight out of the Netherlands, as the media was reporting, and the headline is Dutch father accused of trying to start a, in quotes, cult at isolated farmhouse. And this is by John K. Elliott from the Global News, and it was posted on October 18th. So this is quite recent. A Dutch farmer who spent 9 years locked away at a farmhouse with his adult children was trying to start a cult, according to reports in the Netherlands. The 67-year-old was a former follower of Reverend Sun Myung Moon on Unification Church, often described by critics as the Moon cult. As the Moonies cult, sorry. The church identified the man as a former member of Gert Jan van Dorsten in a news release on Friday. Wilhelm Kostiner, a spokesperson for the church in Amsterdam, told newspaper Algemeen Dagblad that they crossed paths with Van Dorsten in the 1980s. He added that the man left the church and seemingly wanted to start his own cult.
Okay. The father was arrested Thursday on charges of unlawful detention, a form of abuse and money laundering, Dutch police said. Authorities have not independently confirmed his name, although it is being widely reported in Dutch media. That's right, cults. They are alive and well, but are they to be more than what we perceive? Our understanding of cults is shaped by Hollywood content in some instances, and the movie, Rosemary's Baby, is one that comes to mind. Hence, the reason it is crucial to understand what is the true worship of Yahweh Elohim to avoid falling into the traps his enemies set for us.
So we'll see how this article fits into the study tonight. So, again, a reminder what we are about, and this is always to, reinforce to everyone who are seeking what they should be really getting into. So it's to equip. We are not here to change anything about you. We are not here to be any sort of authority over you. And, well, we hope that information and everything that's provided would help you get a better understanding in your walk.
Yeah.
And lastly, we should always have respect for each other. That's very important. We are not here to bash anybody or accuse anybody of anything, aka cults, but we are here to learn from one another and to exhort each other. So getting into the study, introduction, a wife for my beloved son.
Abraham's trusted servant made it to the city of Nahor safely, with the angel messenger of Yahweh arriving before him. At the well, likely at an accessible location in the city, he has positioned himself to observe the damsels at their waterwork. Waiting to see if his prayers answered to the Sefer, he carefully observes one damsel who offered him water to drink and extend the courtesy to the 10 camels in his caravan, a task that would take a while and gives the damsel time to look over the payload that was hauled over the arid land, items that should catch the eyes of damsel. We continue with the servant of Abraham standing at the well waiting to proceed with the mission. Some topics from the last study are revisited in this study, as much of the activities being related is a recap.
And so more or less, the next part is more or less a recap of what happened previously. So we're in verse 30 of chapter 24.
And it came to pass when he saw the earrings and bracelets on the hands of his sister, and when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, Thus the man spoke to me, and that he went to the man as he stood by the camels at the well.
Okay, so this is mesmerized, my sister's bling. A little over the top for the title of this section. The bling on Rebekah's hand had to be very impressive to cause her brother Laban to go inquire to the stranger. Laban most likely had a senior role in his father's wife's house and maybe the oldest male of the household, giving him an elevated position in the family. Then, from his sister's report and the evidence of it on her person, it's good cause for him to make a trip out to the well. The servant of Abraham is standing diligently next to the camels, maybe in a protective posture with the helpers accompanying him, ensuring that the sample of the wealth of his master is not illegally procured by others. Once Rebekah's brother shows up, the bling that he saw along with the goods on the camel should make a convincing argument on its own to transition his sister into the bride for Isaac. So more or less, that's the backdrop we are getting into. So jewels in the ancient world.
Jewels are beautiful. We value them for their color and sparkle, but they are also portable wealth, an in-your-face status symbol letting everyone know how rich you are. That is why young women in the ancient world of the Bible drape themselves in their dowry jewelry on their wedding day. In a not very subtle way, they were telling their new husband and his family that they were women of substance, not to be lightly treated.
So there is always an importance for bling in every aspect of society. Doesn't matter if it's now or back then. So moving on, we are in 31 to 33 verses.
And he said to him, Come in hither, thou blessed of Yahweh. Why stand you without, whereas I have prepared the house and a place for the camels? And the man entered into the house and unloaded the camels and gave the camels straw and provender. and water to wash his feet, and the feet of the men that were with him. And he set before them loaves to eat, but he said, I will not eat until I have told my errand. And he said, Speak on.
So I'm going to do this. The welcome, a place for travelers to rest. So I'm going to do this in my Tobago accent.
Caribbean style.
Yeah. Look, man, why are you standing out there? Come in now. Come. Though not the exact words, Laban is inviting Abraham's servant and his support into the house of his mother. He, Abraham's servant, is referred to as being blessed of Yahweh, which gives recognition to the Elohim of his master. Yahweh would be known to the entire household of Terah. His son, daughter, and grandson left his authority to go after this good which Terah chose to not to pursue. So more or less, Terah did not choose to move forward. He stayed behind while Abraham with his nephew and everyone else moved forward.
Laban is now doing the heavy lifting by offloading the camels after inviting the men into his mother's home. This would give him time to assess everything loaded onto the 10 camels. He also offers them water to wash their feet. Look at previous studies there, and then presented food for them to eat. With Laban probably being the main man of the home, these men are under his protection. Before the men can partake of the nourishing meal, Abraham's servant wants to get the business matter out of the way and to make things formal with the damsel for Isaac to wife.
Right, so the picture that I have accompanying this section is just to give you an idea of how these people would have been sitting for a meal. Don't think how we do things. You have to go back to the ancient time of, putting yourself on the floor and having a meal around maybe a fire or something with other people. So that's what the picture is just capturing, that ancient method of partaking in a meal. So we're in verse 34 to 38.
And he said, I am a servant of Abraham, and Yahweh has blessed my master greatly, and he is exalted, and he has given him sheep and calves and silver and gold, servants and servant maids, camels and asses. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore one son to my master after he had grown old, and he gave him whatever he had. And my master caused me to swear, saying, You shall not take a wife to my son of the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I sojourn in their land. But you shall go to the house of my father and to my tribe, and you shall take thence a wife for my son.
So details stating the facts of the matter. In support of his words about his master's substance and status, the bling which Rebekah is wearing and the goods offloaded by Laban and seen by his sister prior validates every word that the servant is saying about Abraham, his master. Seeing is believing. It would be difficult for anyone to flex in ancient times compared to our current society. So those who are familiar with young people's terms, flexing means that you are showing off all the goods that you have to make other people jealous. He related the trials of both Abraham and Sarah in obtaining favor of a son. Now he is at their doorstep, hoping that Rebekah would become his master's beloved son's wife. To sweeten the prospects of the union, he mentioned that the vast majority of his father's substance would be bequeathed to him. That should be Isaac's father's substance. This is more than enough assurance that she would be well taken care of with no lack. Love is another question. He reinforces to his audience that his master did not want his son to get entangled with any of the Canaanite women, and we know this is to avoid leading his son's heart astray. Abraham was being very tribal in his selection choice for his son. So some of the words that I thought to highlight is mishpachah, which is used in this case to mean family or clan. And moledet, kindred, birth, offspring, relatives, and as I have in the brackets, used in verse 4 and 7 for kindred and family. Now there seems to be a little controversy about the use of these terms when you look at it from the Masoretic perspective. So a wife for Isaac from Abraham's hometown or family, and this is by a rabbi who goes by Loskin.
Abraham's servant says that his master told him to take a wife for Isaac from his family. But Abraham said no such thing. Why does the servant say this, and why did medieval Pashtanim ignore this blatant discrepancy? Repeated stories are common in the Bible.
Continuing.
The narrator describes an event, and then one of the characters in the story retells it. The most elaborate, twice-told tale of the Hebrew Bible is a story of the finding of Rebekah in Parashat Chai Sarah. In this story, Abraham sends his servant back to Mesopotamia to find a wife for his son Isaac. The biblical narrator tells the story, and later we hear the story again from the servant's point of view once he sits down with the potential bride's family. The general outline of the story does not change between the telling and the retelling. Nevertheless, Nechama Leibowitz, the masterful Israeli Bible teacher, succeeded in identifying 20 significant differences between the original narration and the retelling. And we should just reiterate that we present information. We don't necessarily agree with everything that's coming forth.
But
so maybe just for those that are...
And there's a point to doing this.
Yes. Changing my hometown to my family's home.
Arguably, the most significant is that in the original narration, Abraham instructs his servant to go to, generally understood as my land, my native land, but when the servant retells the story, he says that Abraham had told him to go to my father's house, to my family. Interestingly, the same Greek word, phule, is applied in both instances from the Greek, so there's no difference in word usage between Abraham saying something and the servant saying something from the Greek. Then the question that should be asked is, why look into something so mundane as to the meaning of family and usage? And the answer?
The expectation from the Septuagint was to encounter the word ethnos.
So I thought that word would have been used to say family or tribe because, from that New Testament concept. So I was looking to see if ethnos was the word used to go on a little rabbit trail with the word ethnos. But that was not the case.
Which gives us the English word ethnicity and connecting it to Matthew 24.
And we know Matthew 24 talks about tribe against tribe, or they will say nation against nation and kingdom against kingdom. And the word used in Matthew is ethnos.
Many countries are no longer ethnocentric, hence they not being considered a nation based on scriptural classification.
Right. So no country on the face of this planet should be considered a nation. It's not fitting the biblical narrative of what it should be.
Yeah,
we are all republics.
And this has been a major reset for me lately to understand that. They should be considered a kingdom or republic with forced and unforced migration patterns. Peoples are now intermixed on ethnic, cultural, and religious ideologies.
And there's the word cultural. Keep that in mind as well. It goes back to cult.
Yeah, the current geopolitical objective is to complete the building of Babel and to get people of the nations to think and act as one under the banner of a common language, culture, and worship. It can be understood why Abraham's choice of his family to obtain a wife for his beloved son was necessary. Whether to prevent his son's heart from being led astray, keeping his bloodline pure, or to avoid ideological conflicts are all possibilities. The people of the land of his sojourning, had different values and as such different expectations. Intermarrying in his family is not a foreign concept, and he is not afraid to continue the custom with divine sanctioning at this moment.
So we know Abraham and Sarah were related, and we know that Nahor, who Abraham is going to for a wife for his son, also intermarried with Haran's daughter. So we see that's something that's taking place within this family unit of Abraham under Terah. So continuing, stating the facts of the matter, the details. The servant is determined to see his task through, relating that he swore an oath to his master. As previously discussed, taking a false oath is a serious matter. Yeah. So this is from Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 8 to 10, and it's about swearing falsely.
But whereas you have trusted in lying words, whereby you shall not be profited, and you murder and commit adultery and steal and swear falsely and burn incense to Baal, and are gone after strange gods whom you know not, so that it is evil with you. Yet you have you come and stood before me in the house whereon my name is called, and you have said, we have refrained from doing all these abominations.
So we know what happened to the house that was called by his name, and you get a picture of that in Ezekiel, and when the presence of Yahuwah left the temple, and it never returned. And it's not going to return, whether you build a third temple or not.
In many systems of legal adjudication, primarily those nations that ascribe to a form of Judeo-Christian principles, swearing on the Bible is a way of making a witness commit to tell the truth. Unknowingly, people are putting themselves in harm by swearing and not being forthright about giving truthful testimony.
And remember what we talk about, what testimony is?
AKA,
Right,
yes,
good.
fill in the blanks. As much as Yahweh is full of grace and mercy, ignorance is not a strong defense, as stated in the last study.
Right, so this is from Matthew chapter 5, verse 33 to 7.
Again, you have heard that it has been said by them of old time, you shall not forswear yourself, but shall perform unto Yahweh your oaths. But I say to you, swear not at all, neither by heaven, for it is Elohim's throne, nor by the earth, for it is his footstool, neither by Jerusalem, for it is the city of the great king. Neither shall you swear by your head, because you can't make one hair white or black. But let your communication be yea, yea, nay, nay, for whatsoever is more than these comes of evil.
If you were to find yourself in a court of law, it is better to affirm than to swear to tell the truth. Not that you plan on being deceitful, but the implications are great when you swear and you fall short of the righteousness standard expected of Elohim Yahuwah. So in other words, when you go in a court and they give you that Bible, or they ask you how do you want to, under what authority you want to give testimony, don't swear on the Bible if you know you're going to lie, because you're putting yourself in trouble. It's better to just affirm and do what you're supposed to do and keep it moving. So this is verse 39 to 41.
And I said to my master, haply the woman will not go with me. And he said to me, Yahweh Elohim, to whom I have been acceptable in his presence, himself shall send out his angel with you, and shall prosper your journey, and you shall take a wife for my son of my tribe, and of the house of my father. Then shall you be clear from my curse, for whensoever you shall have come to my tribe, and they shall not give her to you, then shall you be clear from my oath.
And before moving on, now if you want to swear on the Bible, I have no issues with swearing. Just I have issues with when you do it and you lie and you put the Most High's name into your shenanigans. That is where I have the problem, and that is where trouble begins for anybody. So just to clear that, add some more detail. So the admission stating the facts of the matter. If the woman does not follow, then you are absolved. The servant is under a curse, which is a serious matter. If he does not carry out the instruction, there are consequences. Yahuwah Elohim cursed the ground from which the man was taken, making his labor a great deal. So cursing is nothing new, and cursing is something specific. So this is back to Genesis chapter 3, verse 17.
And to the man he said, because you have hearkened to the voice of your wife, and have eaten of the tree of which I commanded you, saying, you shall not eat of it, cursed is the ground for your sake, in sorrow shall you eat of it all the days of your life.
We are not referring to immodest language in the F-sharp and C-sharp variety. Using immodest language is not a sin, but cultural norm dictate decorum in language parley. In the period of the judges over Israel, a curse was pronounced over the first king of the people. And you might be asking, who is this first king of the people? So this is in Judges chapter 9, verse 16 to 20, and continuing from verse 55 to 57.
And now if you have done it in truth and integrity, and have made Abimelech king, and if you have wrought well with Jeroboam, and have with his house, and if you have done to him according to the reward of his hand, as my father fought for you, and put his life in jeopardy, and delivered you out of the hand of Madiam, and you are risen up this day against the house of my father, and have slain his sons, being 70 men upon one stone, and have made Abimelech the son of his bondwoman king over the men of Shechem, because he is your brother. If then you have done truly and faithfully with Jeroboam, is that Jeroboam?
It's
that would be okay.
Jeroboam is his name.
Yeah, and with his house this day rejoice in Abimelech, and let him also rejoice over you. But if not, let fire come out from Abimelech, and devour the men of Shechem and the house of Beth-Malo, and let fire come out from the men of Shechem and from the house of Beth-Malo, and devour Abimelech. Skipping ahead.
So that's the curse.
Yeah. And the men of Israel saw that Abimelech was dead, and they each went to his place. So Elohim requited the wickedness of Abimelech, which he wrought against his father, in slaying his 70 brethren. And all the wickedness of the men of Shechem, Elohim requited upon their head. And the curse of Joatham, the son of Jerubbaal, came upon them.
So this is just to reiterate what a curse is. It's not immodest language. It's actually making a pronouncement upon people with, let's say, bad intentions for that situation to come to pass. So that's more or less a curse, and I've did it once to one person, but that's a whole other story.
And you asked for forgiveness.
No.
No?
He
Okay.
stole my glasses. You don't steal. Anyway, that's a whole other discussion.
But the angel of Yahweh was with him, giving the needed support to make his way successful. I would like to add with curse, it's like it's all through Scripture. It talks about what our tongue does and what we speak in our mouths. Do we speak forth blessing? Do we speak forth curses? So our words are very powerful and can come across as a curse and can come across as a blessing.
And I'm glad that you say that, because we have a reminder to read there.
Yes. Proverbs 18:21 and 22. Life and death are in the power of the tongue, and they that rule it shall eat the fruits thereof. He that has found a good wife has found favors and has received gladness from Elohim.
Now, this part here is only in the Septuagint. That's going to be read.
He that puts away a good wife puts away a good thing, and he that keeps an adulteress is foolish and ungodly.
So just a little heads up for the men. If you have a good wife, hold on to it for dear life. Don't let it go, and don't let the women out there steal your heart away. That's a problem.
And a good one is worth waiting for.
Yep.
Right, honey?
Yep. Excellent.
Yeah.
I have to say yes.
You better say yes.
Right. So that passage from Proverbs encapsulates everything what this study is all about. Okay, so verse 42 to 44.
And having come this day to the well, I said, Yahweh Elohim of my master Abram, if you prospered my journey on which I am now going, behold, I stand by the well of water. And the daughters of the men of the city come forth to draw water. And it shall be that the damsel to whom I shall say, give me a little water to drink out of your pitcher, and she shall say to me, both drink you, and I will draw water for your camels. This shall be the wife whom Yahweh has prepared for his own servant Isaac. And hereby shall I know that you have wrought mercy with my master Abram.
Okay, so in part one of the study, at this moment when the servant saw that his way was successful, and after he blessed Yahuwah, he did something, he worshipped. Now I said in the last study, I'm going to visit it in this study because it has a lot packed into it. So worshipped or prostrated himself, let's get into it. What is worship? So worship, prostrate, is shakar. That's what it is. And it's a primitive root meaning to depress. Especially reflexive in homage to royalty or God, to bow, crouch, fall flat, humbly beseech, to make obeisance, do reverence, make, to stoop, or worship. Now I know worship tends to be thought of as singing and giving praise, but there is a distinction to what each one is.
An often confused action is worship, and what it truly means to many who ascribe to the testimony of the Scriptures. Song, dance, and speaking in tongues tend to be associated with worship.
And this is just to give some backdrop to that. Christian worship, an introduction to different forms of Christian worship and its origins in Jewish worship.
Christian worship involves praising God in music and speech. Readings from Scripture, prayers of various sorts, a sermon, and various holy ceremonies, often called sacraments, such as the Eucharist. While worship is often thought of only as services in which Christians come together in a group, individual Christians can worship God on their own and in any place. Origins. Christian worship grew out of Jewish worship. Jesus Christ was a religious Jew who attended the synagogue and celebrated Jewish festivals, and his disciples were familiar with Jewish ritual and tradition. The first obvious divergence from Judaism was making Sunday the holy day instead of Saturday. By doing this, the day of Christian worship is the same as the day that Jesus rose from the dead. Jesus promised to stay with his followers, fulfilled in the sending of the Holy Spirit, illuminated the development of Christian worship from early times.
Okay, so this article was from the BBC, and it was perfect. It outlines everything what people typically think what worship is and everything else. Yeah. So that's one witness. And this is another, all about God, Christian worship. That's the source for this one.
More than music. Christian worship is often thought of as the music portion of a church service. People singing songs to God, heads back, eyes closed, and hands raised in the air as they sing. Christian worship happens when we sing to God, whether in church or alone, in our cars or in the shower. If our desire is to please the heart of God, it is worship no matter where the location or how many are involved. Music affects our emotions, and the lyrics can swell our hearts, causing us to become lost in the experience. Christian praise and worship music is a great tool for helping us feel closer to God. It's not uncommon for people to even pick a church because of the style of its worship music. Often people will emerge from a service saying, "The worship was wonderful today," or "The sermon was great, but I was really moved by the worship." You may be surprised to realize that the entire service is about worshiping God.
And this picture is a relief from Assyria, where Hebrew men are taken captive from a war, and there you see them in different positions of worship and prayer. So hence the reason using that image there. So the two references plus many others that could be included, is to show that what is commonly taught as worship from a Christian perspective may not truly be what it should be. From a Hebrew understanding, worship is quite different. And this source is a guy by the name of Jeff E. Benner.
Webster's dictionary defines worship as the reverent love and devotion accorded a deity, an idol, or a sacred object. Or number 2, the ceremonies, prayers, or other religious forms by which this love is expressed. As I have stated many times, but it's worth repeating, when we read the Bible, we must define our words from a Hebraic perspective and not from an English one. Unfortunately, when we see the word worship in the Bible, we automatically assume the above definition, causing misinterpretation of the biblical text. If I ask the average believer, is it okay to worship a man? The answer would be absolutely not. We are only to worship God. Below are a few verses that use the word worship and support this view. Genesis 24:26, and the man bowed down his head and worshipped Yahuwah. 1 Samuel 15:31, so Samuel turned again after Saul, and Saul worshipped Yahuwah. In Psalm 29:2, give unto Yahuwah the glory due his name, worship Yahuwah in the beauty of holiness.
The first question we must ask is, what is the Hebrew word behind the English word worship, and what does it mean? In each of the verses above, the Hebrew word behind each English word worship is shakar, which we already highlighted. This Hebrew word appears 172 times in the biblical text, but is only translated as worship 99 times in the KJV. Below are some other translations of the same Hebrew word. So Genesis 27:29.
Let people serve you, and nations bow down to you.
In this passage, the other nations will bow down to the descendants of Jacob. Exodus 18:7.
And Moses went out to meet his father-in-law and did obeisance and kissed him, and they asked each other of their welfare and came into the tent.
In this passage, Moses bowed down to his father-in-law. 1 Kings 1:53.
So King Solomon sent, and they brought Adonijah down from the altar, and he came and bowed himself to King Solomon. And Solomon said unto him, go to your house.
In this passage, Adonijah was found righteous when he bowed down to Solomon. Whenever the Hebrew word shakar is used in an action towards God, the translators translate this word as worship. However, when the same Hebrew word is used as an action towards other men, the translators translate this word as obeisance, bowed, or bow down. As you can see, the translators are preventing the reader from viewing the text in its proper Hebraic context. So let's look at some examples of worship each way. So this is Joshua worshipped the messenger.
Joshua 5:13-16. And it came to pass when Joshua was in Jericho that he looked up with his eyes and saw a man standing before him, and there was a drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua drew near and said to him, are you for us or on the side of our enemies? And he said to him, I am now come, the chief captain of the host of Yahuwah. And Joshua fell on his face upon the earth and said to him, Master, what commandest you the servant? And the captain of Yahuwah's host said to Joshua, loose your shoe from off your feet, for the place where you now stand is holy.
So he bowed down to the messenger, the captain of the host of heaven's armies. So Naaman lamented about worshipping another god. So this is from 2 Kings 5:7-19.
And Naaman said, well then, if not, let there be given to your servant, I pray you, the load of a yoke of mules, and you shall give me of the red earth. But thenceforth your servant will not offer whole burnt offering or sacrifice to other gods, but only to Yahuwah by reason of this thing. And I let Yahuwah be propitious to your servant when my master goes into the house of Raman to worship there. And he shall lean on my hand, and I shall bow down in the house of Raman when he bows down in the house of Raman. Even let Yahuwah, I pray, be merciful to your servant in this manner. And Elijah said to Naaman, go in peace, and he departed from him a little way.
So After being healed from his leprosy, Naaman recognized who the true God is, and he decided at that moment he ain't serving any other God, but he still have an obligation to his master. So in this situation, the prophet gave him reassurance. You do what you have to do. Let life continue. So again, that Hebrew word worship was used in this instance as well. But as you see, they say bows down. Prayers answered, so the disciples worshiped the Anointed One.
And in the fourth watch of the night, Yeshua went unto them walking on the sea. And when the disciples saw him walking on the sea, they were troubled, saying, It is a spirit, and they cried out for fear. But straightway Yahusha spoke unto them, saying, Be of good cheer, it is I, be not afraid. And Peter answered him and said, Master, if it be you, bid me come unto you unto the water. And he said, Come. And when Peter was come down out of the ship, he walked on the water to go to Yahusha. But when he saw the wind boisterous, he was afraid, and beginning to sink, he cried, saying, Master, save me. And immediately Yahusha stretched forth his hand and caught him, and said unto him, O you of little faith, wherefore did you doubt? And when they were come into the ship, the wind ceased. Then they that were in the ship came and worshipped him, saying, Of a truth you are the Son of God.
The same Greek word proskuneo is used in Genesis 24 verse 26 as in Matthew 14:33. In the Masoretic, the word prostrate is used instead of worship as in the LLX. So other words, that's the Greek word that is being used to mean bow down, and in every instance, that's the word that is presented for the references in the New Testament as well as the Old Testament. So we're going to be easing ahead. One of the instructions to Israel was not to worship other gods and images. So let's ease ahead and see what I'm talking about. So we are jumping to Exodus 20 verse 3 to 6. Thou shalt not have no other gods beside me. Thou shalt not make for thyself a graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, that is in the earth beneath, that's in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, who are your Elohim, am an incompassionate El, visiting the iniquities of the fathers upon the children to the third and fourth generation of those that hate me, but showing kindness to thousands that love me and keep my commandments.
And can you tell us what the cats following the sun is about, please?
We are easing ahead because we are jumping to Exodus and we are still in Genesis. So that's the cats easing ahead with the sun.
Oh.
Oh, no. No. They are just easing ahead with us. Yeah, we are jumping ahead. So Luke chapter 4 verse 5 to 8.
And the devil, taking him up into a high mountain, showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. I should have said adversary. And the adversary said unto him, All this power will I give you, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will give it. If you therefore will worship me, all shall be yours. And Yahusha answered and said unto him, Get you behind me, adversary, for it is written, You shall worship Yahweh, your Elohim, and him only shall you serve.
So the same Greek word is used for worship in every instance again in this section. But let's go to see where it's written. Deuteronomy 6:13.
You shall fear Yahweh your Elohim, and him only shall you serve, and you shall cleave to him, and by his name you shall swear.
And I believe this was taken verbatim out of Deuteronomy when he answered the adversary about him getting worship. He's not authorized. So Matthew 8:2-4.
And behold, there came a leper and worshipped him, saying, Master, if you will, you can make me clean. And Yahusha put forth his hand and touched him, saying, I will, be you clean. And immediately his leprosy was cleansed. And Yahusha said unto him, See that you tell no man, but go your way, show yourself to the priest, and offer the gift that Moses commanded for a testimony unto them.
The same Hebrew and Greek words for worship is used in every instant of the referenced scriptures. The heart of worship is to bow or prostrate oneself to...
Unauthorized?
Yeah, I made a mistake there. In other words, the heart of worship is to be bowing to authorized entities, and not to be bowing to authorized entities and worship.
Can you repeat that just to make clear for those that are listening online eventually?
So the premise is, if you're bowing down, that is what worship is. So whether it's unauthorized entity, aka a demon, Krishna, or whatever the case may be, or to objects, whether it's an idol, a statue, a cross, or whatever the case may be, that is what worship is, that bowing action.
But what about for when you're bowing before a person? We're going to deal with that, okay?
So still easing, prayers answered. Israel did not heed his commands or warnings and have constantly replaced him with everything else. So this is from Exodus 32, 1-5, and it's the golden calf incident.
And when the people saw that Moses delayed to come down from the mountain, the people combined against Aaron and said to him, "Arise and make us gods who shall go before us. For this Moses, the man who brought us forth out of the land of Egypt, we don't know what has become of him." And Aaron says to him, "Take off the golden earrings which are in the ears of your wives and daughters and bring them to me." Those cats are really distracting me. And all the people took off the golden earrings that were in their ears and brought them to Aaron. And he received them at their hands and formed them with a graving tool. And he made them a molten calf and said, "These are your gods, O Israel, which have brought you up out of the land of Egypt." And Aaron, having seen it, built an altar before it. And Aaron made proclamation, saying, "Tomorrow is a feast of Yahuwah." Would that have said of Yahuwah there?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the thing is with this, they just got the Sinai experience. And here they already devolved doing everything that they are told not to do. No other gods before me. No graven images, no likeness of anything, wherever, period. 2 verses after. After the Sinai experience, they quickly devolved and did what was unsanctioned. Again, they bowed to other gods, they made graven images. So this is from Judges chapter 17, verse 1-4. And there was a man of Mount Ephraim, and his name was Maacus. And he said to his mother, "The 1100 pieces of silver which thou tookest to thyself, and about which thou causest me, and speakest in my ears, behold, the silver is with me. I took it." And his mother said, "Blessed be my son of Yahuwah." And he restored the 1100 pieces of silver to his mother. And his mother said, "I will wholly consecrate the money to Yahuwah out of my hand for my son, to make a graven and molten image." So here you see they are mixing the situation, making a graven image to Yahuwah. "And now I will restore it to thee." But he returned the silver to his mother, and his mother took 200 pieces of silver, gave them to a silversmith, and he made it into a graven and a molten image. And it was in the house of Machias. So once you read this whole narrative in Judges, you'll see how quickly they devolved with that image, and the tribe of Dan came and took it, etc., etc. So this is from Jeremiah 7:13-18. "And now, because you have done all these deeds, and I spoke to you, but ye hearkened not to me, and I called you, but ye answered not, therefore I will also do to the house whereon my name is called, wherein you trust, and to the place which I gave to you and to your fathers, as I did to Silo. And I will cast you out of my sight, as I cast away your brethren, all the seed of Ephraim." Northern tribe, again, it started with that idolatry thing there from Judges. "Therefore pray not thou for this people, and intercede not for them to be pitied. Yea, pray not, and approach me not for them, for I will not hearken unto thee. Seest thou not what they do in the cities of Judah and in the streets of Jerusalem? Their children gather wood, and their fathers kindle a fire, and their women knead dough to make cakes to the host of heaven." In the Masoretic it says Queen of Heaven. "And they have poured out drink offerings to strange gods, that they might provoke me to anger." So again, here you see unsanctioned worship taking place. They broke the commands. "No other gods before me, no graven images, likeness of anything heaven above, earth beneath, water under the earth. Do not bow down," which is prostrate, "or worship them." Again, they break the rules. The same goes for the current believers in him and in the modern day denominational fellowships that have attached themselves to the scriptures. Nothing has changed since the events of the first Exodus to this moment. Everything is still the same. We have been doing like the heathens and following their practices in honoring the one true Elohim. So there's a command that says, don't do like the heathens and do it unto me. Whatever they do, don't do it and say you are worshipping me, praising me, or anything to me.
It is an abomination.
It's an abomination. And it's still happening. So prayers answered. If the incorrect understanding is conveyed, then your error of knowledge becomes compounded over time. Our heart should be to worship in spirit and in truth. So this is from John chapter 4, verse 22 to 24.
You worship what you do not know. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour comes and now is when the true worshippers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeks such to worship him. Elohim is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
So what does this spirit of worship looks like? So here is from God is Spirit from Bible.org.
God is spirit. There is no article in the Greek text before the word spirit, and that emphasizes the quality or essence of the word. Furthermore, the word spirit occurs first in the sentence for emphasis. The literal idea would be something like, absolutely spirit in his essence is God. Jesus did not leave any doubt about this truth. God is spirit. But what does that mean? Some have a strange idea about what a spirit is. That is particularly true of children. To them, spirits mean ghosts. When two of my sons were small, we overheard them talking about ghosts. The 5-year-old said, "Did you know that God is a ghost? He's the Holy Ghost." His 4-year-old brother answered with great theological insight, "Yes, but he's like Casper, the friendly ghost, a popular television cartoon character of the day. Is that really what it means for God to be spirit? Let us examine what it does mean, as well as how it applies to our lives."
He is a living person. We can know him. It is quite obvious that a spirit is alive. Our God is not an inanimate object, like a pagan idol with a mouth that cannot speak, eyes that cannot see, ears that cannot hear, and hands that cannot accomplish anything. And this is from Psalms 115:47. He is alive. The very word spirit also means breath. And breath is the evidence of life. Throughout scripture, he is called the living Elohim. And this is from Joshua 3:10, Psalm 84:2, and 1 Thessalonians 1:9. So these are just some references to that. So prayer answered. One of the reasons the first slide of our study begins with songs of praise to Yah is because the distinction between praise and worship, and we always try to distinguish that in the study. Praise versus what worship is. So then, how should true worship be perceived in light of what it truly is and what the Anointed One said to the woman at the well? As discussed in Bible.org excerpt, let your actions of humbling yourself be accomplished with words of exhortation from your breath, and the Spirit is also breath. In our current circumstance, we should submit humbly to His, Yahuwah's authority over our lives, and let our worship be endearment of honor towards Yahuwah Elohim and those who are in His service in a position of power. So, for instance, you see where Joshua bowed to the angel, you see where the leper bowed to Yeshua. These are people, and in many instances you'll see where people bow to King David, etc. These are people who are sanctioned by the Most High to be in a position of authority. So yes, it's okay to worship them based on the definition of the word worship. Anything outside of that is, well, unsanctioned.
Additionally, in our daily walk, have a heart filled with praise, even when the conditions are more than what is bearable. When we bow, our conscience should be clear of any ill will towards others and expunging all the symbols of religion that have been adopted. They should be cast out of our lives. Your worship can be a combination of bowing and words or songs of praise to our Holy Creator.
And we're supposed to be destroying every idol. Not one should remain. It's a trap and a snare. And if it was a snare to Israel, don't think because you have salvation in foods, it's not going to be a snare for you. It's going to be the same. So prayer is answered. And this is where the excerpt from the media report comes in. When worship does not conform to society's accepted norms, it is termed and that word cult. And Let's go from, I'm not going to repeat all those words, but 1, a system of religious belief and observance. 2, enthusiastic devotion or homage paid to a person, idea, or thing, especially in intellectual homage paid to a person or his work. By A body of admirers, the cult of Browning. B, devoted attention to enthusiastic regular pursuit of cult of athletics, so sports people. Based on the definition, a fad, craze, passing fantasy of some particular thing. A fashion, the cult of eyeglasses. So this definition is just giving a backdrop to what a cult is, and this is from 1968. But I have another one based on dictionary.com. A system of religious veneration and devotion dedicated towards a particular figure or object. The cult of Saint Olaf. A relatively small group of people having religious beliefs or practices regarded by others as strange or sinister. A misplaced or excessive admiration of a particular person or thing. So both definitions are more or less the same, but I wanted to capture that religious belief. In essence,
if these definitions presented are genuine, then everyone, and their holy relics belong to a cult. Currently, people in various religious denominations who are seeking to understand the scriptures better and challenging the status quo are accused of being in cults or cult-like behavior as they choose to gain a more informed understanding and interact with like-minded people. Being accused of being in a cult is more to protect doctrines than getting to the truth.
So we have heard it, seen it happen many times. You belong to a cult because you do not choose to ascribe to what you were taught to be the truth.
Distinctives or doctrines in a denomination, yes.
So chapter 40, verse 45 to 47.
And it came to pass, before I had done speaking in my mind, straightway Rebekah came forth, having her pitcher on her shoulders, and she went down to the well and drew water. And I said to her, Give me to drink. And she hasted and let down her pitcher on her arm from her hand, and said, Drink you, and I will give your camels drink. And I drank, and she gave the camels drink. And I asked her and said, Whose daughter are you? Tell me. And she said, I am daughter of Bethuel, the son of Nahor, whom Milcah bore to him. And I put on her the earrings and the bracelets on her hands. I wanted to just say something in that scripture. It said, before I even finished having the prayer in my mind. I just think that's just a neat little side thing, because we can pray in our hearts or in our minds. And I've seen many a time it's not even been an audible prayer. And that's, how cool is that? So, it's just another way that we can pray in our hearts.
Okay, she appeared, the wife to be. Abraham's servant knew that he was prospered by Yahuwah Elohim. Based on all the action that transpired, a marriage was arranged for Isaac. Rebekah, a marriage in ancient Israel. The old man had 2 golden bracelets and a ring, gifts for a woman he didn't know. Camels accompanied him with food and gear for the journey and with many gifts. These were intended for people living somewhere in Haran, where Terah had settled. Abraham insisted that his son marry someone from his own people and not a Canaanite woman. That's why he sent his trusted servant to find a wife from Terah's family. Abraham believed the servant would find a bride in Haran because Elohim will send his angel with you to prosper your way. So the old gentleman was on a mission of faith, Abraham's faith. Eliezer, and most people believe it's Eliezer, knew she was the answer to prayer. God had divinely singled out Rebekah, or Rivkah, as in the young woman intended for Isaac. So he put the nose ring on her nose, in some instances it says earrings, and bracelets on her wrist, and worshipped Yahuwah. In bestowing the jewelry, Eliezer claimed Rebekah for Isaac. In accepting the jewelry, she allowed Eliezer to touch her wrist and face. She was willing to proceed. She ran and told her mother's household these things. Rebekah appeared before them wearing bracelets, bling, and nose ring, opened the way for Eliezer to meet her family and propose marriage. So here is where the second study ends, but unbeknownst to Davene, I added 2 extra slides because there is something important to the heart of worship. So last word, defiance. Standing strong in the face of adversity. And this is from Daniel chapter 3, 1 to 23.
In the 18th year.
And I would stop Davene at certain parts because there are certain things I may elaborate on.
In the 18th year, Nebuchadnezzar the king made a golden image. Its height was 60 cubits, its breadth 6 cubits. And he set it up in the plain of Diera in the province of Babylon. And he sent forth to gather the governors and the captains and the heads of provinces, chiefs and princes, and those who were in authority and all the rulers of districts to come to the dedication of the image.
Okay, Davene, that's the image. It's not a statue. That's the image. It's not a statue. This is from the Washington Monument. If you look at the dimensions, it is the dimensions of an obelisk. Okay, keep that in mind. 2, another thing, the word dedicated here is Hanukkah. I looked it up. Same word, Hanukkah. That is dedication. And we know what Hanukkah is all about. Continue, Davene.
So the heads of provinces, the governors, the captains, the chiefs, the great princes, those who were in authority, and all the rulers of districts were gathered to the dedication of the image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. And they stood before the image. Then the herald cried aloud, "To you it is commanded, you peoples, tribes, and languages, at what hour you shall hear the sound of the trumpet, and pipe, and harp, and sackbut, and psaltery, and every kind of music, you shall fall down and worship the golden image which King Nebuchadnezzar has set up."
As you can see, it says peoples, tribes, and languages. What happened back then is still happening now. Nothing has changed. They just rebranded it and push it out in a new packaging for us. And that's what we have in our society today. Babylon never left. It just changed its face. Continue.
And whosoever shall not fall down and worship in the same hour, he shall be cast into the burning fiery furnace.
Stop there. Now the word for worship is sagid, and this is the Aramaic word. And those who know, Daniel was written in both Hebrew and Aramaic. It still means worship. When I double checked it in the Greek, it's the same Greek word for worship. No difference.
And it came to pass when the nations heard the sound of the trumpet and pipe and harp and sackbut and psaltery and all kinds of music, all the nations, tribes, and languages fell down and worshipped the golden image which King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then came near certain Chaldeans and accused the Jews to the king, saying, "O king, live forever. You, O king, have made a decree that every man who shall hear the sound of the trumpet and pipe and harp, sackbut and psaltery and all kinds of music, and shall not fall down and worship the golden image, shall be cast into the burning fiery furnace. There are certain Jews whom you have appointed over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who have not obeyed your decree, O king. They serve not your gods and worship not the golden image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar in wrath and anger commanded to bring Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and they were brought before the king. And Nebuchadnezzar answered and said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you serve not my gods and worship not the golden image which I have set up?"
So before we move on to the next slide, here we see Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, knowing the commandments, did not submit to the authority of Nebuchadnezzar in bowing down to the image. We have to take a stand sometimes. Continuing.
Do we need to FYI what an obelisk is or no?
People are supposed to know what it is.
Okay.
And
If not, go and look it up.
Go and look it up.
Yeah. Now then, if you be ready, whensoever you shall hear the sound of the trumpet and pipe and harp and sackbut and psaltery and harmony and every kind of music, to fall down and worship the golden image which I have made, well. But if you worship not, in the same hour you shall be cast into the burning fiery furnace. And who is the Elohim that shall deliver you out of my hand? Then answered Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "We have no need to answer you concerning this matter, for our Elohim whom we serve is in the heavens, able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will rescue us from your hands, O king. But if not, be it known to you, O king, that we will not serve your gods, nor worship the image which you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was filled with wrath, and the form of his countenance was changed towards Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and he gave orders to heat the furnace 7 times more than usual, until it should burn to the uttermost. And he commanded mighty men to
bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Then those men were bound with their coats and caps and hose, and were cast into the midst of the burning fiery furnace, forasmuch as the king's word prevailed, and the furnace was made exceeding hot. Then these 3 men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, fell bound into the midst of the burning furnace, and walked in the midst of the flame, singing praise to Elohim and blessing Yahweh.
So here we see, as with the servant of Abraham, they blessed Yahuwah, they sang praises to him, and they did not bow and worship the idols or the image or the gods of Babylon. And we are to do the same. I had to add this in at the last minute, and it's fitting to what is true worship versus what is unsanctioned worship. Okay, so we are at the end. Any questions, comments, or